Hey everyone, it is Lady O. The season of mirror work begins. I am gonna just start right off. So, we all heard that DougFord, the Premier of Ontario, is going to be doing an early election and expect people to be at the polls in February. It's cold outside. So, he is doing an early election when he knows people are not gonna leave their house, even when it's summertime. Even when it's proper weather, people don't leave, much less too cold. Doug asked us during the whole lockdown, when he went extreme and following Justin Trudeau. And I'm doing this for many reasons. I'm doing this video because I'm going to be sending it to outlets, American outlets, because I think they need to really know what's happening here. Because Trump makes, some statements about, us joining them, and people just is seeing DougFord. He went on some, he did some news outlets south of the border, and people just hearing a glimpse of him. But Americans need to know, Trump needs to know exactly what's going on here in Canada, Ontario, the Liberal government, DougFord's relationship to the Liberals. He's a progressive Liberal. He's not a conservative. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I'll explain why. So during the lockdown, Doug came and he asked us to forgive him. He says, for the things that he did to our children. Fast forward, he seemed to be back and he has some senility of being conservative, and he just seems to have a true conservative vibe. And okay, maybe, him being stuck on stupid during that time was not, intentional, because even the great Donald Trump, with his warp speed and still saying certain things about that injection. And there was a time when he was actually attacking Candace Owens, who was his biggest champion in regards to this whole COVID-19 stuff. So even Candace said, you know what? He called me names and whatever. I'm still going to vote for him because he's the best choice. And, whatever it is. However, she was able to just reconcile that. And she still assisted the conservatives. She's still critical, as anybody should be. Nobody should be loyal to any man or any woman as if they're God, as if they're not infallible. So the same thing here with DougFord. I reconciled with it. Okay, he said, he made a mistake, and folks, I got it wrong, or whatever. Okay. Now, I found out personally, I heard it before, but again, I don't like hearsay, because people hear things about me, and for those who decide based on what they heard, I would call you foolish. I would. Because there's people that would say things about you and you would wish that they got to know you. So I treat people the way I would like to be treated. So even though I heard things about Doug from afar off, or even from people close by, I said, you know what? Let me experience it for myself. So one of my writing association members reached out to me over the past year or so, just touch base, is saying, hey Opa, we have tickets for this. Hey Opa, this is happening. Can you? But I've never been able to fit in my schedule. So reached out to him because I started to see Doug on LinkedIn doing some posts that really got my attention. I'm like, hey, Doug is really listening to Ontarians. He's really listening to the grassroots. I'm very transparent, so never hid the fact that I was against Doug because of what he was doing to our children. And I'm not too sure about the part. And he's like, give us a chance, and things are different. I'm like, okay. So fast forward, I'm like, okay, you know what? Heck, where's we're on the page. Is it? He sent me the link, got my membership. They were talking, and he's like, and then it just kind of progressed on in regards to applying. And I said, you know what? I'll think about it. And I'm like, okay. So I applied, and then 24 hours, got a response back. Me, like, within, I would say 24 hours, and it's for the next day was the interview. I was like, whoa, that's fast. So I'm like, okay, let me move things around. I had appointments scheduled. I moved things around to accommodate the quick turnaround of wanting to do the interview. So I'm like, okay, not a problem. Now, something told me to check my inbox. I went to my inbox for another reason, and then I saw a response from my writing association telling me that the PC party reached out to them and told them not to meet with me. One sentence. I respond back, this is unprofessional. I had plans. I rearranged things to accommodate this. What happened? Why? No response. Then someone told me that two reasons. One, Doug is holding a grudge because you have been known and you are known to be unapologetic and uncompromisable, and you do stand up for true conservative values. Many might see you as a classical liberal because that was my family's foundational roots until the classical liberal party decided to become a progressive liberal party, which came to be what we have now, which is not at all, not even, you can't even see liberalism in there. The classical liberalism is just dead. It's gone, never to come back. So many, like myself, left the party, and we've been independent. And then when Doug came on the scene during the conservative race for leadership, he promised to do the things that even the liberals who left the Liberal Party because the Liberal Party went rogue, Doug came in and he said the things that we were all looking and hoping for. And many of us supported the Conservative Party. That's the scenario. They said he's holding a grudge against that and you being very consistent in loyalty to your principles. And Doug doesn't want principled conservatives. He wants people that are easily swayed. They're just there for a placemat, but they really are just not going to stand for anything. They just follow instructions. He's holding a grudge because you ran for the New Blue Party against him during the lockdown because he was not conservative. Like, really? I was like, so that is either one of those is why the party called my writing and directed them not to interview me. I was like, wow, okay, thanks for the heads up. So DougFord has shown that he is a man who grew up in a conservative family but was exposed to progressive liberalism, and he never looked back. Like those who live in the closeted lifestyle, he puts on a show, but his heart is not aligned with the family values that he was brought up in. Doug likes the win-win of being a closeted progressive liberal dressed as a conservative. When he ran for the leadership, he said what he knows the grassroots wanted to hear, the conservative grassroots and the classical liberals that left the party. He ran on his brother's popularity because his brother Rob Ford, no matter how people want to talk about his addiction, that we now, even here in Toronto, they spending millions, sanctuary city and injection sites for people and saying that we need to treat them with love, humanity, grace, and all that. But when our mayor, who had an addiction because he was introduced to it by someone else, and that was his demon that he was fighting, we didn't have compassion, we didn't have grace, we didn't try to get him to be his best version. Oh no, the liberals and the NDPs, the socialists, the ones who have a heart and a tolerance and a love for addictions and addicts, had no tolerance for Rob. Because why? He went into that position as a true public servant, and he really was there to slash the wasteful spending, and as he coined it, kill the gravy train, to stop the gravy train. But his brother Doug is the gravy train. So when Doug ran for leadership, he ran saying that he was going to promise to scrap the liberal sex ed curriculum. And I'm going to show you some articles now. As you could see, 2018, when he was running to be the leader of the Conservative Party, the provincial, the Progressive Conservatives. And he promised us, the classical liberals that left, and the grassroots conservatives that were there, and those classical liberals who we share a lot of commonalities with conservatives. But there's no classical liberals anymore. They're a dime a dozen. And he said he was going to scrap the liberal sex ed curriculum. He said that we will repeal it. He said that. This is what he said to us. And he promised the parents, he said, we will repeal it. And then we'll make sure we consult with the parents and teachers. That's what he said in regards to the updated sex ed curriculum that was put into effect by the liberals in 2015. This is what he said. I mean, blow it up. This is what he said. That was him. So newly elected PC leader DougFord says he will scrap the sex ed education curriculum passed by Premier Kathleen Wynne's Liberal. So Kathleen Wynne, for those south of the border, she was the leader of the Liberal Party, openly gay woman, lesbian woman. She minted the Minister of Education, Mitzi Hunter, who took over from Margaret Best, and Margaret Best resigned, and she was well known in Scarborough-Guildwood, and it was said through many different channels and conversations and for the grassroots that she left the party because Kathleen Wynne wanted her to push the curriculum, and she says, no, that's against our values. And it was either Margaret pushed it or she left, and Margaret's been in that position for decades. Margaret's like, no, I don't have to stay. So Margaret Best resigned, and her resignation was as a result of this type of curriculum that Kathleen Wynne wanted her to push and bring in, and that has always been against our classical liberal roots, and we're very family oriented. You want to do what you want to do, that's your business. Don't push it on anybody. That's classical liberalism. Leave me alone. Don't tell me what to do. Don't mandate me to go against my beliefs because your beliefs is all of a sudden more greater than mine. No. So Margaret resigned, and Mitzi said, pick me. And she was picked. And up until now, there's always been speculation that Mitzi is also a lesbian. It's an allegation I've heard. She's not been married. She doesn't have any children. And Mitzi she should be in her 40s now. And when she ran for office, I think she was just finishing UFT or had a year left in UFT. And so she finished the UFT while being a member of provincial parliament, if my memory serves me correctly, because I remember when she was canvassing, people were like, oh, you don't have any experience. And people were not really feeling that she was the best replacement for Margaret Best, because I believe that she did not fully finish her graduation, her graduate yet. She was still, I think she had a semester or a year to go or something like that. So she finished it while she was a member of parliament. But she was like fresh out of university. No live life experience, nothing. And she, Kathleen said, "Hey, I'll give this to you and make a name for you." And I believe Mitzi probably thought that one day she's going to be the leader, but they showed her that no, you are just a pawn to push these things, and it is what it is. But the allegations been out there with Mitzi in regards to her sexual orientation. She's never been married, don't have any children, decided not to, but she's the one that's bringing curriculum for people's children. It's always funny that these ministers of education are never mothers and fathers themselves. They never have children themselves, but they're putting into laws things about that's going to affect your children, but they're not a mother or father yet, but they're the minister of education, passing curriculum to educate your children, and they don't have none. So you see, none of their children, nobody for them is going to have to live in the consequences and the decisions that they make. It's just your children that's going to have to live out their laws, never theirs. And if they do end up having children way down the line, or if they're great aunties and uncles, they're paying for private schooling. You think their children are going to go into the public mess that they created? Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. So he said here, move on along. So he said he was going to repeal it. He made a promise that once he get in, he was going to repeal the liberal sex education. What we are ending up now here in Ontario is as a result of this. And because DougFord, he talked about flip-flopping. He's talking now about Bonnie Crombie being flip-flopper. Doug always wants us to allow him to flip-flop. Allow him to make a decision and say, folks, I got it wrong. It's okay for him to flip-flop. But nobody else is supposed to be able, as he called it, flip-flop. But the difference with his flip-flopping, it's never really hard, and it's never really true. He flip-flops based on the polls and the pushback. That's when he flip-flops. It's never truly flip-flopping based on getting all the facts and making an integrity-based decision. No, it's poll-based decision. Even now, this decision for early election, he's going on the coattail of Pierre Poilievre, just like he went on the coattail of Justin Trudeau during the lockdown. He wanted to get the votes of the Liberals, who were also scared out of their minds. Then he attacked his own grassroots and called us names because he was depending on the votes of the Liberals, and that's why he got so chummy with Justin Trudeau. He called him his best friends. And Chrystia Freeland, the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada, now the ex-deputy, because she's the one south of the border. You guys heard that she left her post and she's no longer Minister of Finance, and she's no longer Deputy Minister, but now she's running to be the leader of the Liberal Party because Justin Trudeau left, and Trudeau left right after she decided to resign. That Chrystia Freeland, she said that DougFord was her therapist. She said that they were very good friends. I'm going to play all of this for you to really see who DougFord really is. So it's okay for him to flip-flop and say, folks, I got it wrong, when it's harming our children. But for those people who stood on their business and they stood up against him because they know he was wrong, and at the end of this whole fiasco, we were on the right side of history and he was on the wrong side of history. He wants to hold grudges against mothers like myself. He wants to hold grudges. Really, Doug? And you call yourself a conservative. Doug is that conservative. Let me help those south of the border. Like, your conservatives that's against Trump. Those that are doing everything to go against Trump, and they say that they're Republican. Those Republicans south of the border that you are like, you're not a Republican because they're aligning with the Democrats. They're fighting Trump. Yeah. So those type of Republicans is what DougFord is, saying he's a conservative. So it's called progressive conservatives. So you have progressive Republicans. They're not Republicans. So please put a P in front of them. They're PR. They're progressive Republicans. And they're doing a very good PR for conservative roots who still vote for them because you want a conservative representative, but they're not a conservative. They're not a Republican. All right. So he said, DougFord said back in 2018 when he became a leader and he won because he was writing the polls, he's seeing what people want to hear. He's good at that. He's a businessman. You have to give Doug his credit. But guess what? Our lives is not business as usual, DougFord. Our lives is not the business as usual. So he said he was going to repeal it. He changed his mind and said, you know what, folks, it's a done deal. Nothing. So the updated sex education curriculum was put in effect by the liberals, which you guys will call the Democrats south of the border. Here we call them liberals. They're not. In 2015, despite the objection from religious groups who claimed it didn't align with their values, and parents who said the government didn't allow them enough input. And many of those parents were also classical liberals. Many of them were people from the melanated community, what they call black community. We were so ticked off. That's why we left the Liberal Party. That's why we allow it to fall. Just like what happened in the Democratic Party south of the border, because we just stepped out and we said, nope. Talk about a protest vote. That year was a protest vote. We either protested not to vote or we voted for the Conservative Party because they told us their leader, DougFord, was going to do this. And he didn't. So he voiced his support of, so on Monday, one social conservative voiced his support of Ford's promise to do what former PC leader Patrick Brown would not do. So Patrick Brown, who's now the mayor of Brampton here in Canada, he was a progressive conservative leader. So he was a PC leader, just like how DougFord is the current PC leader. Patrick Brown was a PC leader and he refused not to do it. All these progressive conservative leaders, they are sellouts. They are progressive liberals. They are liberals, as what you guys call Democrats. So Ford came in saying he was going to do what Patrick Brown did not do or would not do. And then Ford turned around and did exactly what Patrick Brown would not do. He didn't touch it. He didn't touch it. So I'm just going to scroll down. You can pause it. I said I was going to put the link, but it's all here. This is what one of them even said, the same. He said, we see Doug as a fighter for the regular folk. That's what McVenty told the Star, adding that he sees himself as a social conservative, a political ideology focused on preserving traditional values. But he doesn't define Ford as one, but Ford said that he's going to preserve traditional values. Then we said the economy. That's mainly what gets me excited about Doug. So Kathleen Wynne, the lesbian premier that we had that brought in the sex ed curriculum, which is now where we have this whole sexual orientation, gender identity, fast forward to what we have right now, and the whole critical race theory, DEI, all of this they're all lump sum into that whole movement. So Wynne defended the updated sex curriculum to reporters during an event at a downtown. She says it needed to be updated. All kids get all sorts of information from the internet. So she's trying to make it sound like she's helping our kids. And all different sources now. More than we would have 40 years ago, she said. So it's really important that our curriculum reflects that. And that's what the curriculum does. That's what she said. No, it didn't. It brought in the whole LGBTQ. It brought it in full effect. Now, when this happened, when it first came in 2015, Patrick Brown, who was the PC leader at that time, the next year he also had promised to scrap the curriculum and develop a new one, only to retract it days later. He said he was actually in support of the liberals' sex ed update and would keep it in place if elected premier. Then he resigned in January amid allegations of his own sexual misconduct, triggering the Tories leadership contest. So this is how we got the leadership contest, and this is how DougFord slipped in, because Patrick Brown at that time was a leader, and he promised to scrap the curriculum, and then he retracted it by saying he likes the one that the liberals have and is going to keep it in place. And then all of a sudden, somebody was going to blow the whistle and say, oh, okay, well, guess what we're going to do? And then he had to resign because of his sexual misconduct, the allegations of it. And then that's how we got the leadership race, and now that's how we got Doug, and then we got stuck with Doug. So this is what he looks like. This is what he said. Our focus is going to be on straightening out the finances of this province. That's what he said. He talked about reducing hydro rates and starting to attract great paying jobs and businesses. Right? That was him. So these are the things that he said. Now, he said also that he would not force MPPs to vote against their beliefs. This is what he said. But fast forward during the lockdown, he did the exact opposite. He forced MPPs to go along with his lockdown decree, and those that didn't, he excommunicated them, and now he's refusing to let those like myself come in. So see, the plan is I'm not going to force MPs. That's what he said. And that's what he ran on. And he lied. And then those that would stand up, he got rid of them. And now he's making sure that nobody of integrity or values comes in. So this is why in this election that he has, every candidate is a DougFord hand-picked, hand-selected candidate. They are not there for you. They're there for DougFord. They're just pawns, every last one of them. And those who don't like DougFord, they're still quiet because they're afraid, so they just stay in line and they have a good paycheck. So you have those who don't like him, but they stay because of the paycheck. They're just as guilty, just like how Pierre Poilievre is saying that every liberal allowed Justin Trudeau to do what he did. Every progressive conservative and every conservative who have stayed under DougFord and keep him as the leader, they are guilty for exactly what he has allowed to happen. So he said that he would not force MPPs to vote against their beliefs. That's what he said in 2018. And then look what it said. That was good news for 20-year-old MPP Sam Oosterhoff, a free speech and anti-abortion advocate who felt that Brown clamped down on such decisions or discussions within the party. So you had MPPs who was happy to hear, oh, we're going to get a leader that's going to make us, not vote against our beliefs. And this, I tell you, Doug is a Trojan horse, big time. So that was the first article there where he lied about who he is, what he's going to do, and all of that stuff. Now, just for context, I need to show you this. So this person, this is Kathleen Wynne. This is the premier at that time. This is the one that brought in the sex ed, Kathleen Wynne, the liberal premier at that time. The one who was openly lesbian and decided that it's fitting for our children now to learn about her lifestyle. Because I don't know who in her family member she feels that they should also get access to her lifestyle. And parents had no say in it. So it even said here that DougFord is taking a risk by aligning the PC party with social conservatives, said Kathy Brock, a political science professor. On the other hand, he will probably gain support from people who don't feel their views have been heard in the past. So you see, he took a gamble and he won, and then he flopped back to who he was. So the social conservative had momentum. Tanya Granick Allen was one of the leadership candidates for the PC party. And Doug and the liberals did not want her because he came in and made it look like he was going to do everything she was going to do, but he's better on a business end. Where Tanya was just focused on the parents' free speech, the parents' ability, the anti-sex ed agenda. That was more her momentum, which a lot of people we all were going to vote just for that. But Doug had a win-win, like he was going to vote to repeal it, plus he had a business sense, right? So he came as the full package. So he was also appealing to the social conservative voters by promising to repeal the sex ed curriculum because it's been a staunch demand of the party base. It was a deal breaker for the base. And supporters of the leadership candidate, Tanya Granick Allen. So they had another strong contender. And at the end of the day, even if that was their only thing they were going to vote on, they were going to vote just for that purpose. But Doug said, hey, pick me. I would do what Tanya is going to do. Plus, he has the business sense. But Doug was all about business. Doug didn't give a rat's behind about the curriculum. He wanted to get in because it's all about the money for him. So they picked Doug because Doug came across as the full package, that he was going to do what Tanya was going to state that she was going to do. And on top of that, he also brought the business sense. So the business community liked him. The grassroots liked him. He seemed to be the full package. However, you notice it says, but at least one conservative group is concerned by Ford's promise to repeal the sex ed curriculum. So the LGBT Tory Canada, an organization for the LGBTQ conservative voters, supports the current sex ed curriculum, said a spokesperson. So there is conservatives south of the border like Republicans. There are conservatives who want the LGBTQ curriculum because we do have LGBT conservatives. See, they like the conservative part of the making the money, but they don't want the conservative part of morality. So they wanted Doug because they knew Doug was not going to go through with it. They knew it. They knew him better than the rest of us. So even in the PC party right now, he has many paid staff who are holding portfolios for women's issues and women's department within the PC party, high profile, and they are LGBTQ. That was part of the deal. The deal is we will get our people to support you, Doug, but when you get in, you've got to put us in positions. And Doug said, sure, because he's just in it for the money. he has in big portfolios those who are LGBTQ and they are conservative and they work for the provincial government and they work for DougFord and they're part of the LGB Tory Canada. So that was lie number one. So here we have the DougFord repeal promise. And this was done March the 2nd, 2019. So parents opposed to the sex ed curriculum written under the auspices of convicted sex offender Benjamin Levin. So again, that's another drama that happened. The person who wrote the curriculum, convicted sex offender. And he was a former deputy minister of education. Oh yeah, you guys, South of Boy, you have no idea what was happening in Ontario, eh? So the deputy minister of education was a convicted sex offender by his name as Benjamin Levin. He was the one that wrote the sex ed curriculum that the lesbian leader of the party pushed. So Ontario has been a mess and we haven't gotten out of it because we still have a liberal controlling it. His name is DougFord. So Kathleen Wynne, who was the premier, who brought in the sex ed education, her deputy prime minister at the time, who wrote up the sex ed curriculum, was a convicted sex offender and was also her deputy prime minister. And she is the premier who was a lesbian. They had an agenda to bring this thing in. They wanted to bring in the ideologies by any means necessary. So this one I'm going to put the link into. I'm going to send you the link for. I'm going to put the link in the description. And you can take a read of how messed up this thing has been in Ontario. And then Ford, who narrowly won the leadership over Christine Elliott, who he made a deal with. Christine ended up being his Minister of Health, which, again, she was very instrumental in pushing the lockdown agenda. They all, I'm telling you. So Ford narrowly won the leadership over Christine precisely because of those pro-parental rights Ontarians. So those who were pro-parental rights in Ontario, they voted for him. And that is the only reason why he won. I'm going to send you the article. And as soon as he got in, he said, oh, folks, guess what? I changed my mind. He flip-flopped. But he's going to talk about Bonnie Crombie flip-flopping. Okay. Then we're going to move on over now. And so instead of him standing up for us and being a man of his word, instead we heard him praising the liberal, openly lesbian premier who ushered in the sex curriculum. We heard DougFord paying a tribute to her when she announced that she's not going to seek re-election, when she renounced that she was done with. That's what we heard. We heard him celebrating her, where he paid tribute to her. So let's listen to this tribute and it's on CDTV. That's one of our local news station. He paid tribute to her, and this was aired, when was this aired? 4 years ago. 4 years ago. That's the title of it. It's on their YouTube page. So instead of him repealing her stuff, instead we hear him paying tribute to her. After he won, from the votes of the pro-parental rights voters who got him in, he stabbed us in our back, and now he's in control. So he got in, he made the deal with the LGB the Tories, the LGBT Tories. The Tories, another word here north of the border for conservatives. So the gay conservatives, he got in. He told them to calm down. It's okay, just get me in. I'm gonna tell them what they want to hear. The pro-parental. I'm gonna get in, because if the other ones get in, you're done. So he got in, and now he's like, now I'm in here, and I am now going to rule with a tight fist. I am going to make sure that you cannot vote based on your beliefs. I am going to make it very difficult for you to, so it's either my way or you leave. And then whoever is coming in is who I'm going to handpick to continue the madness. So this is what we heard DougFord say.
And I say this respectfully to everyone. Anyone that served as MPP, as a minister, no matter what color of party you come from, orange, blue, purple, whatever, you know, there's certain decisions, and there's one person. Matter of fact, there's only 25 other people in the history of this province knows how it feels when you're getting calls every single night. You have to make a decision. And Kathleen, when you make a decision, you know one decision, there's 10 other reactions. And then you make another decision, 10 other reactions. And you have to weigh this out. And at certain times, the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And sometimes you sit back and you balance it and you say, no matter what I do, you know, there's going to be an issue. But you have to go and show leadership. And throughout the time the former premier was there, she showed leadership. Again, we might have disagreed, but she showed leadership because she made a decision, right or wrong. And for that, I respect your service. I respect the years that you've spent down here serving your constituents. So thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right or wrong, you made a decision. God bless you. The woman who brought in the LGBTQ curriculum to our children, God bless you. Right or wrong, you had to make a decision. God bless you. You did a great job, Kathleen. God bless you. That's what we heard when he got in. And then shortly after, as a tribute to her, not just a vocal tribute to her, as a real tribute to her, he kept her curriculum.
The time the former premier was there, she showed leadership. Again, we might have disagreed, but she showed leadership because she made a decision, right or wrong. And for that, I respect your service. I respect the years that you've spent down here serving your constituents. So thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dan, stop the clock. Stop the clock.
And I differentiate between politics and the person. Kathleen Wynne is a very nice person. She was never, ever, once, ever nasty to me. People ask me how she is. She's a very, very kind person. Do we differ on our politics? Sure. But it doesn't mean she's a bad person. I just want to acknowledge that. And she's also, there's only 25 other people since the history of this province that understands walking a mile in my shoes. Some decisions, and even decisions about Halloween. You know, if you make one decision, there's 10 other reactions.
He says he can separate politics from the person. So if you never attack him, then I'm okay with you. But if you treat me the way I treat you, because he attacked us and called us names, called us yahoos, tinfoil hats, like all the narratives that Justin Trudeau threw at us, unacceptable views and should we tolerate them. He even allowed Justin Trudeau to seize people's trucks, and he was saying he went along with emergency measures. Like, he attacked us personally. But you don't dare attack me. No, 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 no. I hold a grudge. And because Kathleen never attacked me, I'm going to give her a tribute, and I'm going to keep her sex ed curriculum.
Make another one, another 10. And she understands that, making decisions late at night. It weighs on you. And no one else understands it outside of 25 other premiers. And I have a great deal of respect for her. She's a trailblazer in the fact that she was the first female premier, which is incredible. First gay premier, and I congratulate her. Incredible again. So there's many things that she was a trailblazer in. Do we disagree on politics? Sure we do. But I'm sure there's a few things that we agree on too. So I want to wish her all the best. She did a great job working with her constituents, serving the people of Ontario. And I want to wish her all the best.
That's what we heard. That's what we heard from Doug. And to add to the verbal tribute, he kept her sex ed agenda in place. South of the border, this is who DougFord is. This is who is wanting to fight Trump. This is the person that is saying Canada is not for sale and going after Trump. Trump, this is who you're dealing with. He is not, DougFord is not a conservative, also known as Republican. He is not. It's important that south of the border knows who you're dealing with. Now, fast forward to 2020. And then we have the whole and the present, right? So we have the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, all the initiatives. Turns out that DougFord and his PC party are exactly the same as the Liberals. Again, because I remembered when it came out, again, I spoke out about it because I know this DEI was not in the best interest of the quote unquote black community. It was not going to be in their best interest. Just like the critical race theory that the NDP brought in and tabled, and the PC party, because they're the one in power, allowed it to happen and adopted it in the educational curriculum. The PC party, they are the majority. The NDP brought in the critical race theory and tabled it. And the PC party, every member, DougFord, instructed them to vote for it. And they all voted for it. Again, I push back against the critical race theory because, again, I saw it was not in the best interest of the quote-unquote black community. It wasn't, because I see exactly what it was meant to do. And we're never gonna move forward with hate, blaming, shaming. Those negative energies is never going to result in anything longevity. The longevity. You might get a good feel good right now moment, but the next administration is going to overturn it because the way in which you're bringing things in. So where is the sustainability? You talk about sustainability. It's not longevity. And I saw that. And that's why I pushed and fought against DEI and critical race theory because of what and how it was being done. I knew it was not going to last, and it's going to do more harm and more damage, but only to the grassroots. See, the federal and provincial members, they benefit from it because we right now have a lawsuit on a federal level that's being hushed. Over 200 million is gone, and it was earmarked for grants for the quote-unquote black community entrepreneurs, the youth. They've never seen it. It's gone. Nobody's talking about it except one woman that's fighting it. And it's gonna, just like how Justin prorogued the federal level, a lot of these cases are gonna run out in March. So this is all part of the scheme. It's currently happening right now, but it's not going anywhere. And nobody's reporting about it. And it's from their own quote-unquote black community and black MPs who are cheating in the disguise of DEI. So this DEI thing, and I always tell them, these grants and all these programs, it's not going to benefit. By the time it trickles down to you, it's nothing. It's talk about money laundering or money, however you guys want to call it. This is just creating names, constructs, slapping millions of dollars behind it, and it goes to certain companies and certain consulting firms and certain, it's all their friends. Oh my God. So the Ontario Progressive Conservative, DougFord's party, they refuse to eliminate the education ministry position and the curriculum. The conservative progressive party of DougFord, just last summer, they pledged to improve and expand on DEI policies. This is why you have so many Americans coming to Canada. So when Trump, the reason why they're not enforcing the borders, because they want your people to come up. Canada likes to import ideologies because they want to flip Canada upside down and hand it over. And all you conservatives who are being loyal to a brand, you refuse to want to see that your brand is not loyal to you. So this is why, instead of putting the money to the borders and putting money into the military, that's all Trump is asking for. Instead of just doing that, we're doubling down to fight Trump and tariff and wearing a hat, but Canada's not for sale and Team Canada. I totally get why Alberta's premier, who's a real conservative, Danielle Smith, said, no, I'm not going along with it. She's the only premier who is a true conservative who said is a conservative. I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to play you a video where DougFord himself admits that all the premiers love the Liberals. This man, when you put a mic in front of him long enough, he tells you the truth. He tells you all the premiers love the Liberals. But he loves them even more. He says that. And he said that when he was talking about Chrystia Freeland, the deputy prime minister and the finance minister. She's the one that just resigned, just in case the south of the border needs to get caught up. That's when Trudeau, the reason why Trudeau resigned is because Chrystia Freeland resigned. She humiliated him. She was the deputy minister, prime minister, and the minister of finance. She's the one that was dealing tough with Trump with the whole NAFTA. That's what she's using as her badge of honor, because she's now running to become the leader, the prime minister of Canada. She's now in the leadership race to take over from Trudeau. Chrystia Freeland, DougFord openly said that he loves her. Like everybody loves her, but he more than everybody else. You just sit back and listen to you. You need to get caught up in what's really happening here. So DougFord, they're doubling down on improving and expanding DEI policies here. That's why a lot of your people are coming up. And that is why DougFord, instead of him pressuring Trudeau to do what he needs to do, and instead of he standing like Daniel Smith, he's standing as the liberal he always is, side by side with his best friend, Justin Trudeau. He's a liberal. And he's saying he's trying to bring Danielle around. I hope Danielle Smith doesn't come around. And she stands and let Trump know, listen, in Alberta, we're good. That is why you have the Americans all coming, and who wants dual citizenship, who didn't care about being a Canadian citizen, but now they want to be a Canadian citizen, who's coming over, who's like, yeah, they're all coming north. So this is why instead of securing the borders, they're wanting to fight Trump. All you got to do is just secure the border, dude, and put money into military, which the military's been asking for. But you're sending money by money to Ukraine and all over the whole heap of money, but your whole military is dilapidated. All the man said is secure your borders. I don't know why we're going through all of this drama to fight Trump. He's not asking for anything unreasonable. For crying out loud, Canadians themselves are asking for the same thing. Can you secure our borders, please and thank you? Can you make our military be great again, please and thank you? We've been asking for that. Veterans been asking for that as well. For their own brothers and sisters who are still fighting. These are what we have here, just to touch on some things. So the PC government under DougFord loves identity politics, loves reports and mandates targeting groups, specific racial groups. He loves identity politics. So his focus on identity politics has always been his priority, and that's because he's been winning on that. He finds the issue that a group is passionate about, he looks at the polls, and he runs with it. He runs with it. A true conservative government would not do that, but he does. As I said at the beginning, he runs on the coattail of his brother Rob Ford, who really stood for fiscal conservatism, lowering tax, cutting waste. As he said, stop the gravy train, ensuring that government actually worked for the people, not against them. That's what Rob has always been about. DougFord, on the other hand, and the Ontario PC Party, from day one, he has flip-flopped and turned his back on all of these values. And he has been aligning himself with the Liberals from Kathleen Wynne provincially. That's why he's kept all of her stuff in place. That's why he celebrate and tribute her. And he reinforced and doubled down on her stuff. That is why. And on a federal level, that's why he loves Chrystia Freeland and he loves Justin Trudeau. Provincial level, he's racking up more debt faster than Kathleen Wynne's government. And he has been making life more expensive for Ontarians, especially when he allowed what occurred during the lockdown of having small businesses in Ontario being destroyed with lockdown mandates that made no sense. The big businesses stayed open. The small ones shut down. The big businesses had all these people walking around as if COVID has not had some respecter of business size. DougFord allowed small businesses to be destroyed. Mind you, his business of printing the labels to tell you where to stand and what to do from what I understand, made a lot of money. He supports a lot of ideologies that a true conservative wouldn't. That is why he is a progressive conservative. He's not. So one of the things he mentioned for Justin Trudeau was during another news media where he talks about when he says, "Do you wonder why I'm always up here praising Justin Trudeau?" Because he is an incredible prime minister. This is what a conservative premier said. But it's okay because he's progressive. You would never hear Danielle Smith, the real conservative Alberta premier, would never be saying these things of the incredible job that Justin Trudeau did. You don't believe me? Listen.
People expected us to put our differences aside, to put the politics aside and work together. And that's exactly what we did. So thank you again, Prime Minister. My friends, we're not out of the waters yet. This deadly virus is still spreading around the world at a rapid pace. Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, partner with all premiers across his province. And I can tell you folks, when we called the Prime Minister, not just myself, all premiers, he stood up to the plate. He supported us. He was on the phone every single week asking, what do you need? How can I help you? And you wonder why I'm always up here praising him? Because he did an incredible job as Prime Minister, and the Deputy Prime Minister did an incredible job. So again, thank you, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Doug, for those kind words and your partnership. Hello, everyone. Bonjour à tous. It's always great to be here with friends, particularly you, Premier Ford, but here as well with Minister Anand. We're also joined by Provincial Ministers Clark and Fideli, the President of 3M Canada, Penny Wise, and of course, Mayor Baker of Brockville.
I wouldn't suffer you through the rest, but there's more. So we also heard him after all that. We hear him talking about again his relationship with some other folks. We have him talking about Chrystia Freeland. I'm going to show you the video. It was done. This one was done a year ago. Not that far away. A year ago. This one was a year ago. Where he talks about her. So let's hear.
About true leadership, you talk about the Deputy Prime Minister that is there working with all the premiers, the provinces and the territories, and everyone. I can assure you, all the premiers love Chrystia Freeland. I just love her a little more than the rest of the premiers. But in saying that...
So, this is Lady O. Stay in action with faith and possibility. Walk in and protect your light. Your purpose will find you. Say what you mean. And live like you mean what you say.